If you are trying to sell a home in DFW right now, you could lose tens of thousands of dollars, and most sellers won't even see it coming. I'm Kiel Lindsey, your property geek. I'm a data-driven realtor here in Tarrant County, trying to get you the information you need so you can make the best decisions for you and your family for real estate. In today's market update, I want to cover housing inventory, what's happening with current prices, what's happening with sales velocity, buyer activity, seller activity, all that stuff, and what all of this means for buyers and sellers as they are trying to actually buy or sell real estate in today's market. Stick with me. We're going to get into it. First up, I want to talk about inventory. It is really the big news that's happening right now because everything else kind of stems from this. So what you're looking at here on this graph is the number of homes currently for sale. And I've broken it out. The green line is everything. The blue is the resale and red is new construction. Now, looking at this is a 10-year timeline. So what you can see right here at the end is where we are currently. This big weird dip was the pandemic, and then here was the previous years. We're kind of back to a previous cycle, but you can see the dip and the rises are much more drastic. So the last couple of years, we've been adding a lot more homes. Now, I've discussed this in previous videos. In fact, if you want to go back to my April market update, I predicted that we would break 50,000 homes this year, and we have, and we will continue to go up as well. As you can see, the big difference here. Looking at this, you can see this is the last 10 years. If I go max, this is the recorded history in the MLS all the way back to 2003. We have more homes for sale now than we ever have. So I'm going to actually zoom in on 3 years. So here's the last 3 years. Looking at this, the number of resale homes is up 31% from the same time last year. New construction is up 11.1%. Combine that with about 26% over last year. I have broken it up because I want to focus on resale, because if you are a seller wanting to sell your home, that's a resale home. So that's 31% more homes for sale right now than there were in May of 2024. Also, that's about 40,000 homes for sale. Now, when I go to new listings, this is the number of new listings that are coming on the market in any given month. This is the resale homes have hit 11.4%, while new construction is up 1.8%. Let's go and combine that with closed sales. Resale is down almost 9% in closed sales. New construction is actually up, so more new homes are selling versus the same time last year. But remember, we're focusing on resale for sellers. So combine those last three stats. We have more homes that are coming onto the market than last year, and we have fewer homes being sold. So that is why your inventory is increasing. In fact, we can combine a lot of those numbers into one number, and it's called months of supply. Months of supply is a great gauge at how much inventory we have versus how fast it's selling. So if you have that many homes for sale, but they're not moving very quickly, we're going to have a higher months of supply, which is what we're seeing. In fact, new construction normally trends a little bit higher because they have longer build times. But what we're seeing right now is we've crossed over, and now resale has the highest months of supply. In fact, we've hit over 5 months of supply as a market, 5.5 alone for resale. The number the economists like to use is 6 months as a benchmark, meaning when you hit 6 months of supply, you are now in a neutral market. Any less than that, you're in a seller's market. Any more than that, you're in a buyer's market. Any more than about 7, 6 to 7 is about neutral. Any more than that is a buyer's market. For me personally, I feel like you have to apply the trend, because let's say you are in a strong seller's market, but all of a sudden there's a lot less buyers. It's going to feel a lot more like a buyer's market. And that's where we've been the last year or two, where we haven't had very much inventory to justify a high months of supply. The buyer activity has been very low, so we've just been slowly adding inventory. And as that ramps up and ramps up, now we are about to be in a neutral market for the first time really ever in DFW, moving towards a buyer's market, which means it's going to get harder and harder for a seller to sell their home here in DFW. Now I want to talk about price. Everyone's favorite thing to talk about is the prices of homes. But what I really want my viewers to understand is that pricing is a lagging indicator, meaning pricing is a function of supply and demand. When you have low supply and high demand, prices go up. When you have high supply and low demand, prices go down. And that is exactly no different in real estate. So that's why I like to lead these videos with inventory. So when I go back to homes for sale and I show you this inventory again, remember, this is the pandemic. We had extremely low inventory and it's been rising ever since. So when I go back to the sales price, during the pandemic, when we had lower inventory and high demand, prices went up. Now that we have high inventory and lower demand, prices are coming down. You can see we peaked right around here in 2022. And since then, they have been coming down. Now, they're not going to crash. They're not going to crater. We're not going to do any of that. But we are starting to see a slow readjustment here, which is probably really good for the market. I don't say probably, it is very good for the market. Because normally in Texas, historically, we have appreciated 3 to 5% a year, sometimes less, sometimes more. But we shot up drastically during the pandemic years. And since then, we have held flat or been declining a little bit. Now, if interest rates come down, we will see this tick back up a little bit. But since then, we've seen this decline or hold steady, which is good. So hopefully, as people's wages and income can hopefully increase, I'm not an economist, so don't blow me up on that. But hopefully, as things can hopefully normalize, prices are staying stable, and people, as interest rates come down, will hopefully be able to jump back into the home search like they want to. So right now, resale homes are flat from the same time last year. They are down a little bit in new construction, and putting those together, we're down about 1.3% across the market, sitting really right about 375. We're seeing new construction come down to match resale because they're realizing people are not spending $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 on a brand new home like they used to as frequently. It's not like it's not happening. It's just not happening frequently enough to really be affecting this number. In fact, it's coming down. People want more affordable homes. Not a shocker, I know. So when I look at this, part of this is the discount buyers are getting. Now, I know this is kind of crazy. So this is the percent of original price that homes close at. So if you list a home at $100,000, but you close at $90,000, you are at 90% of your original price. So when I see these numbers here, new construction is closing at 95% of original price. Resale is closing at 97.2. Buyers can start expecting a 2.8 to even a 5% discount. When you look at this numbers on a $400,000 home, this gets to be somewhere between $12,000 and maybe $20,000. This is where sellers are losing a lot of their money, is they're listing too high, they're sitting on the market for too long, and they're having to do price discounts or a big discount at the end to get the house under contract. There is still an opportunity when you list your home at the right price and in the right condition, with the right marketing, that you can still sell in the first month, sometimes even in the first week or two. However, if you do the traditional thing and you list a little high so you have room to negotiate, and maybe you didn't take care of some of those things, or maybe you didn't declutter, or maybe your agent wanted to save some money and took pictures with their cell phones, it's not going to fly. Less than 20% of homes right now that are active are selling each month. You have to have the right strategy when you list your home if you want it to be successful. Right now, there's more expired and canceled than we've seen in a long, long time here in DFW. And it's mainly because you didn't come on the market with the right strategy. So if you're curious about that and you're thinking about selling, I have links in the description below where you can schedule a consult. We can talk, see if it might be a right fit for us to work together. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I know I'm not the right agent for everyone. Or if you're just curious and maybe you're still in the discovery phase, want some more information, I also have links to my buyer's guide, seller's guides, and some other freebies down below. So check those out.